Welcome to the Esoerotic Dark Feminine Magic Podcast. My name is Crimson, creatrix of Esoeroticism, and I help mystically minded folks awaken their dark feminine magic. Welcome to the Portal of Enchantment. Welcome, Samara Seren, to the Esoerotic Dark Feminine Magic Podcast. It's so good to have you. How are you today?
I'm wonderful. Thank you for having me.
Oh, it's always wonderful talking with you. And for those who do not know, Samara is a priestess instructor within our Multiverse online community. And you are a very talented, I like to call you an energist. You're uh, a very adept energy worker, spirit communicator. And what people may not know about you is that you also have a very erotic and a very esoerotic creative side to you. So that's what
Indeed.
we've talked with you in the past about, the more spirit work and the energy work, and let's get a little esoerotic
Indeed.
today. And the way that I found out that this was something that you were also gifted at was through your poetry. Do you want to share a little bit about that?
Yes, I have been writing like very sensual, romantic, erotic poetry for um, a long time. I've been writing poetry since I was like 10 years old. And then once I got to adulthood, then I started making it more like sensual. And then it started traversing into the erotic arena. Um, and I'm going to be creating a new account on Instagram with some of the more erotic stuff so everybody can enjoy that.
Do we know the handle yet?
I think I'm going to call it Beckon and Pool because I don't think anyone has claimed that yet. But
Ah,
I'm getting ready to start that. And then we'll post it. I'll
yeah.
post it on my other account and
Yes. Yeah, I put all the links in the show notes so people can find you. But I love the idea of speaking more directly about how we're channeling our sexual energy into creativity. We use the word creatrix a lot, and we know that sexual energy is creative energy. And I don't think that, you know, I've brought in enough conversations around that. And what is really interesting with you is that you channel your sexual energy to create in ways such as writing poetry. But we've also had conversations about how you channel it into your energy work and how you have found that there is just a really profound difference when you are consciously working with your like eroticism when it comes to your more spiritual work. So, I just kind of want to see what you want to bring to the table when it comes to that.
yes, I believe it's very important because when we are connected to that pelvic floor energy, that sacral energy, just like with all the esoerotic movement, and then we bring that to the world at large, it gives us this very like deep connection that's very rooted in reality, and people respond differently to that because the more aware we are of the present moment, then the more people are drawn to that, or sometimes intimidated because they're like, oh, that person is paying attention. I should watch out. So, in some ways, it can create a barrier that's blocking people who have, bad intentions towards us because they don't want to be seen, or they're like, this is somebody who would see me. This is someone who is aware of what's going on around them, what's going on within their body. It's not going to be so easy to manipulate them.
I want to talk more about that because I feel like that's in person. I feel like
Hmm.
that's online. I feel like that can be between, we're all about the feminine and the sexuality and all of that energy just being energies as opposed to having to look binary into certain genders. But I know that you've had experiences specifically with the masculine, in how they've responded to you,
Mm-hmm.
just simply based on not you being in any kind of, sexual relationship, but they were just able to read that energy. And so let me ask you, how do you think that energy differs from potentially how the average person who feels like their boundaries are constantly being crossed? How do you think that those two energies are different, and potentially how do we cultivate it to what you're speaking to?
Oh, that's a great question. Well, some of the responses that I've gotten from men who will like message me on one of my other accounts is that they've said that I have a lot of gravity, that I have a lot of intention, that I seem very perceptive, and that they feel like they can't get away with stuff, you know,
Mm.
as much. Although, I mean, sure, every once in a while, of course, I get messaged by strangers who are ridiculous. But of course, I just block them right away. You
Yeah.
know, because they will like misconstrue some of the things that I've posted, some of the, like erotic poetry, and they'll just like, you can tell that they're just messaging everybody with it. But if I respond, they say that I respond differently. So I imagine a lot of people in our community probably respond differently than the average person, because I'll say, outrageous things like, they'll ask me inappropriate questions. And instead of just being like, oh, I can't believe you asked that, I'll be like, I didn't give you permission to ask me that. So I'll get in this like kind of dominant role with them, which sometimes that totally backfires because then they really like it. But, you know, I
Yeah.
just have to block them really fast. But I'm like, you can't do that with me. You can't get away with that with me. So it's a lot more like being in the body. Because, as we've talked about in many of the classes in the multiverse, I'm not one of the spiritual people who thinks that you constantly have to leave your body in order to have experiences. I feel like it's better to be in your body. Um, and it just makes a difference on like how we respond. Even just the simplest things, I'll think it's just like this is a sentence that anybody would write, but they're saying like the energy behind it. And these are just average guys,
Mm.
you know. They're not necessarily like spiritual people or whatever, but they can still sense it.
Well, and that's the whole thing with being an energy witch, is that you don't have to tell people, you just are, you
Mm-hmm.
shouldn't. And that is true embodiment, right? Like, I don't have to tell you how to treat me, or I don't have to tell you, of course, like, this is just generally speaking, but I don't have
Mm-hmm.
to tell you who I am or what my standards are. As an energy witch, it's perceived. And does
It
that, of
is.
course, people cross boundaries all the time. That's not what we're talking about here. We're
Mm-hmm.
talking about our enigmatic ability to have energetic influence without having to say anything, and that it is an energetic quality that's within us, and it starts from being embodied in our eroticism, our sexual energy, our sensuality. And
Mm-hmm.
what do you think the difference is between someone who, because of their sexual energy, constantly receives unboundaried responses versus someone who receives boundaried responses? And qualifying this, saying this is not like a victim blamey thing. We're trying to get to the root of how to creatively work with sexual energy in with
Mm-hmm.
intention. So before,
Right. Yeah,
anyone
no
assumes,
no victim blaming at all. No,
no,
definitely
no.
not.
But
Well,
there's some
because
way we could work with our sexual energy
mm-hmm.
with intention as witches and as erotic witches, that can, because I think a lot of people are scared to embody their sexuality because they've had really negative experiences of how people responded in the past. And this is why we're talking.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I've always had a very embodied sexuality, and when I was younger, of course, that would be inundated with like horrible, you know, people saying terrible, inappropriate things, grabbing me, just like that happens to everyone else. But the percentage was a little bit lower than some of my other friends, just because they would say that I was intimidating, which just means that I'm like in my body.
Ooh.
And of course, it's the way that we walk, it's the way we move. That's like one of the first things that they teach you in martial arts is how are you walking? Are you aware? Do you look like you're aware of your surroundings? So rather than being like very distracted, it's being like, okay, I know exactly what's going on, 360 degrees. I mean, women and female, presenting people generally are more aware of their surroundings, but it can be kind of in a more like emanating fear kind of way. Whereas in martial arts, you're taught how to like sit in your body and then project. Like it's like energy work. Half
Yeah.
of martial arts is energy work. It's like what you're projecting. Um, so I feel like that can help a lot. Where it's like, oh no, I'll put up a fight, and you're emanating that. But then somehow this like walking around like, yeah, I could totally kick your ass. Then it comes off as like very erotic because you're like fully in your body, and then you're like coming up against their energy field of intention in one way or another. And then they're like, oh, you're so deeply present in your body that it's very erotic.
Embodied presence.
Mm-hmm.
Been so hot on that this year. Just how, I've said this in a lot of different classes, but I don't think I've said it on the podcast yet, that one of my magical mentors, Damien Eccles, says that embodied presence is the philosopher's stone. It is the secret of alchemy. It is how we alchemize something from a lower to a higher expression, and that alchemy is not possible without embodied presence. It's the secret to magic. And I feel like you just hit on that, because there is something about when we are trying to think our way. Oh, I'm fierce. Oh,
Mm-hmm.
I'm sexy. Oh, I'm not to be fucked with, but it's not coming from your body, it's coming from your mind.
Exactly.
It,
And
it is a
energetically, you can
different
see that.
it's a different energetic quality,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like thinking it and conceiving it versus knowing it in your meat suit.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Because it's going from like, yeah, I'm fierce to like, and then you like lower it and bring it into your body. Like, I'm fierce. You can
Yeah.
see like the difference just in how the voice changes and then how the energy shifts. You're taking it from this like energetically, it's just kind of looking like it's around someone's head because it's just a mental thing. But if you bring it into the core or the pelvic floor, you know, it's definitely makes a difference.
And to me, that's the difference between intellectualizing something and embodying something, and also being performative about something versus actually authentically being something. And sometimes you need to start, not sometimes, usually always, we start conceiving something and we start feeling a little performative, but a lot of people remain in those states. And so the energy, the magic never drops in, the embodied presence
Mm-hmm.
never drops in. So do you have, I mean, I think erotic dance is one of the greatest tools to pull things into your body and to get us in our sacral, sexual, lit up, energetic state. But what other ways do you think, when people feel like, if someone asks you, well, how do I pull it into my body? How do I
Mm-hmm.
get to that point?
Well, it definitely has to be physical, some kind of physical movement. So I feel like the erotic dance is amazing. Like I felt a huge shift when I was in my early 20s and I was taking belly dancing. It was like just how that like changed the movement. Going from like ballet background to then that, and it was like, ooh, that's like a really cool energy shift. Um, but I also recommend like practicing like movement while you're doing that affirmation, which seems very simplistic. But if you're just sitting and you're thinking, oh, I'm really fierce, I'm a badass bitch, whatever, but you kind of have to do some sort of movement with it, which I think the erotic dance is really helpful because you can bring those affirmations into it. But let's say you're like want to practice a scenario, like maybe at work, a work situation or whatever. You can't like exactly do that with erotic dance,
Start
but you can
grinding on your boss. Don't do that.
but you can practice like in your living room, walking from one end of the room to the other and like sitting down and just practicing just that, walking in through the door and sitting down in the chair as though you're preparing for a meeting, and then like shift your body language to match that.
Oh, like a role playing type of thing
Yeah.
before.
Yeah,
Ah,
like as though you're in an acting class. Or I mean, to kind of go back to the martial arts thing, that they would have us, practicing like just walking around, because I had a female instructor and she's like, this is very important for you to be able to emanate this energy of don't fuck with me, just for your own safety. So it's like, okay, let's, walk around, and it's me and a bunch of teenage boys. It's like in the class, but we're all practicing, but then to watch the difference, even of the teenage boys as well, and watching how their presence like came down into their core just from being a mental thing. It was really cool.
I mean, being an active participant in your body in whatever it is that you're cultivating is going to be, and people try to bypass this shit all the time. People are always like, "What can I visualize?" Yeah, you can visualize, but
That's
it's
a
not.
great start.
Yeah, it's a great start, but like then it's never going to anchor in fully until it's in your physicality. We forget that our subconscious self is not just mental. Our subconscious self is actually our body as well, and that we are, through our movement and from being like present in
Mm-hmm.
some kind of earthly non-mental activity, that there is a really powerful inner transformation that happens. And I think you also made me realize that energetically, when you're doing that, you're cultivating it for yourself, not to give away to someone else. So that's kind of something else to consider, is when you are doing your embodiment, whatever that is, can you consider not just conceiving it to please someone else or to turn on someone else. And I think that a lot of our sexual energy is just kind of moves through us because we don't even recognize that it's something that we can hold on to. Like, we've been so programmed that our bodies and our sexuality are meant for the male gaze. Um, whether that is whoever you're attracted to or what you identify as, like the male gaze is a established perspective that most of us are unaware of, that we're always like slightly performing for, which is like blah. But I've been doing a lot of studying on that recently, and it can actually be we don't even know we're playing into it.
Oh yeah, because it's instilled at such a young age. But when you look at all the other animal species, it's usually the vast majority, it's the female of the species that makes the decision. So in most other animal species, it's the female gaze, not the male
Really?
gaze. So, and that's how it was for thousands and thousands of years until patriarchy took, such a hold on everybody, to everyone's detriment. So we need to get back
Everyone.
to thinking about the female gaze, the feminine gaze, regardless of, if someone identifies, as more feminine or masculine.
Tell me more. Okay, this is the first time I'm hearing about this, the feminine gaze. Can you go tell me a little bit more about that? Like, what would the feminine gaze look like?
Well, I feel like there's some really great authors and like apps out there that's more like female gaze oriented or feminine centric, like Dipsy with the like erotic stories that are meant for feminine presenting people or people in their feminine state, rather than like doing it from the male gaze perspective. I like, there's tons of erotic books that are more like from the feminine perspective, because
That's so
they honestly have way more depth. They have way more emotional texture and flavor and color than just ones written by men.
It's so interesting that it's so imbued that we don't even realize that that is like a masculine perspective and gaze, that like stories are being told through the lens. And I think maybe this is why I feel really empowered around like dark feminine magic and how eroticism is a part of that, because it is your feminine essence that's witnessing itself. And
Mm-hmm.
that is like, it's the gaze upon one's inner self versus worrying about what it looks like and how it's projecting outside, whether that is, to a man or a woman or to any human.
Mm-hmm.
And there's something to be said about really pulling back our sexual energy as something that we've been so conditioned that has to look a certain way, has to be
Mm-hmm.
expressed a certain way, has to, like, you're not a sexy person if you don't partake in certain sexual acts. There's
Right.
just like, I always avoid conversations around actual intercourse and couples and intimacy in that way, because I feel like there's so many great conversations out there about those already that,
Oh, yeah.
it's not that I'm anti that at all, I should say that, but why I always try to bring the conversation back is like great conversations happening about that, like get your healthy sex life, all
Oh,
of that.
yeah.
But can we have another little part of the internet, us here, where
Mm-hmm.
that's not something that we need to concern ourselves with? Can
Right.
we always have can we just assume that here within our container within eroticism, we're having a place where we can really focus on what you've been saying and what we've been talking about, which is like, how do we cultivate this energy in an embodied way, in an energetically intentional way, that then we can bring out into our relationships or into our encounters in the world. But first we have to cultivate it within.
Right. We have to cultivate that relationship between our inner feminine and inner masculine.
Ooh.
Like who's the ruler, like within ourselves? Is it
Yeah.
the feminine aspect that has all this, depth and vibrancy? Or is it the masculine aspect, that I would say the toxic masculine aspect, the patriarchal version? Uh,
Yeah.
because the masculine has all these amazing abilities and qualities,
Yeah.
but what we've internalized is the toxic version of that, the patriarchal
Ooh.
version of it. So when we start being critical with ourselves, that is our inner patriarchy. And so we can use this like inner seduction to seduce and transform our inner masculine into its like divine state. And so once we have those two, in harmony, then it's going to start reflecting more in the outer world.
Ah,
And I do,
that.
to like go back to the feminine centered or the feminine gaze. I mean, look at what's happening, with a lot of women and feminine presenting people just like done with relationships. And they're fine. And the masculine presenting people are not fine. So who is really in control then? It's the feminine. That's who's holding the key, like in this like beautiful way. Like I'm not against, men, I'm not against masculine, but I am against toxicity on either side.
Oh yeah. Well, we talk about this all the time of how, it may be we have a role to play in healing the masculine, and it starts with healing our own feminine, right? So this is like not meant to be, this is absolutely, I mean, I know you and I both date and love men, so like we're not man
Mm-hmm.
haters or masculine haters. And I think I am masculine dominant energetically, personally, and it's something that I really like that you just said, that a lot of our internalized masculine is actually toxic patriarchy, and that serves no one. That does not serve
Right.
a man, that does not serve a woman, does not serve anyone who's not binary. Like, that just does not serve society. And I do believe that we can really kind of start healing that and ridding the world of it through the dark feminine.
Absolutely. Yeah, and I wouldn't, I mean, I think we need to restructure a lot of what it means to be feminine. Because a
Yeah.
lot of the ideas of femininity are really just infantilizing women.
Mm.
Like the feminine is really just all the qualities of childhood or
Can we
childlike
stop that?
behavior.
Ah.
You know, the dark feminine, because they're like, oh, feminine is soft, feminine is yielding. Not always. You're talking about, like the immature version of a species, when with children and young adults. Sure, they're going to be softer, they're going to be more, pliable because they're young, they haven't reached maturity yet. The
And it,
feminine can be soft, but so can the masculine. The masculine has a great depth for emotion and empathy as well, but it's like extracted from them or like cut off from them because of patriarchy.
yeah, and there are conversations happening now that you're right, there are a lot of especially midlife femmes who are just not in relationships and very happy, and who are saying that if I ever chose to get back in a relationship, it would have to be with, a masculine energy, who holds empathy and emotional intelligence, and that they value that more than say what we've been told on these freaking dumb TikToks or whatever of like, oh, like a woman likes a man who is physically strong and makes a lot of money and blah 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 blah. Well, like, can
We
we
all know that's not true.
start challenging these freaking norms? And I just did an interview and we talked about Andrew Tate, and we were talking about polarities and toxic femininity and toxic masculinity, and Andrew Tate is going to, yes, attract, he's gross and has like this, well, I'm a real male, alpha male, and has completely misconstrued what it means to be a healthy masculine. He's the most toxic of toxic, but he is going to, yes, attract the feminine, but also the wounded feminine. So it's the wounded masculine attracting the wounded feminine. So all it is creating these relationship dynamics where now the feminine in response is being wounded to connect with that, which is like, yeah, the I think really redefining. I mean, we're seeing all of this, not to get deep, but all of this, I mean, we always go deep, but not to get too uncomfortable, but a lot of this pedophilia shit coming up, it is because we have infantilized the feminine to the point where it's like we can only, it's like there is this weird obsession with like youth culture to the
Mhm.
point where it's fucking disgusting. And
Absolutely.
or I think it's up to us to bring, to me, the light feminine is more maiden and, early motherhood type. And I think that through the motherhood, we then get to that dark feminine where it's later motherhood crone, if we're doing that kind of trifold of it. There is such a rise in advocating for the dark feminine, which to me is the crone energy, and for elder voices and midlifers. And my gosh, we're finally talking about perimenopause and all of these things. And I think that is like, because there's a rise in that, that's why I think all of this pedophilia stuff is rising up, because we've raised the energy to finally, it's really obvious how fucking problematic that is.
Yes, it is. Well, because feminine was always described as in ways that used like child, terminology, because women were never ever allowed to mature in society up until recently. They were kept in the infantilized state, not having any rights, not having any choices, not having any agency. So they were kept in that childlike state for their entire lives, virtually. And
And
so yeah, it's a big problem. So really, I feel like the true feminine hasn't been explored in a couple of thousand years, because when we're only just now allowing ourselves to come into mature adulthood in all aspects of life.
And I feel like this is what lights me up around this work. This is why I love the multiverse. Something that I just want to share about the multiverse, um, which is our virtual online community, um, is that I'm the second youngest instructor. And I feel like that was very intentional for me. I always love learning from people who are older than me. And the youngest person is still it's Tara. And she's still in her 40s, you know? But we go span 50s and 60s for our instructors in there, which I'm really fucking proud of, that like we are putting on pedestals and learning from people with more lived experience, and we're um not bowing down to the altar of youth, because I think there needs to be online communities for powerful witches who aren't concerned with like I guess the distractions of a 20-year-old. There's just different conversations we have because of it. We have different perspectives than I think you find in other groups, and I'm really proud of that.
Yeah,
So that's,
absolutely. I mean, the human brain doesn't even finish developing until 25 or 30 years old, so it is going to be different.
yeah,
Yeah. Being in your
yeah.
20s is wild. It's like a
Uh,
different world every day.
oh my goodness, I know. Don't send me back there. Yeah, and there is something just about the dark feminine rising, the crone rising, the midlifer. I don't consider. Someone said you could keep calling yourself a crone. I'm like, no. I'm
Hmm.
sorry if that comes off like that. I consider myself a midlifer. I look up to crones, and I'm constantly advocating on behalf of crones. In case anyone thought that, I know I'm not a crone. I'm only 45 years old. Like, I got time, but I'm constantly advocating for crones because that's who I look up to. And I
Hmm.
think more the world should look up to crone energy as opposed
Hmm.
to like worshiping maidens, you know? Oh, there's even so much we don't realize, like how much of our sexual perception is perverted by the I love the word infantilization of women.
Hmm.
You know, obviously you see it in things like pornography, and we see it like coming out on these like terrible accusations across a lot of positions of power right now.
Hmm.
But it's even like how I should, you know, dress or talk, or you know, or like baby talk around something if I'm
Hmm.
trying to get my way, you know,
Yeah,
or
with that
things
like
like,
higher pitch, and you have to
yeah,
sound more childlike in order to be feminine, which I
yes.
feel like the dark feminine is really just the true feminine, the adult feminine.
Oh, I like that. Yeah. For those who are listening that aren't aware, the dark feminine is simply aspects of the feminine that are repressed because they've been shamed, judged, or feared out of us. And so it is our sexuality, it's our magic, our witchcraft, but it's setting boundaries. It's, you know,
Hmm.
fierce protections. It's death and rebirth, and um, this shadow. And I mean,
Exactly.
we
But we
make
see that in young girls. They already have those qualities developing, at such a young age, and they're fascinated with all of these things. And then it gets kind of pushed out of them. So the dark feminine is really just the accurate feminine, the real
mm,
feminine.
ooh.
Whereas some of the qualities associated with feminine are just qualities of children on both of any gender.
Could you imagine if we did that to the masculine? Like, it's basically that's why we say the it's awakening your power, pleasure, and potential, because all of that's hidden when you deny your dark feminine self, and when you, especially, you know, going back to where we started, when you turn off your sexuality for your own personal, you know, energetic embodiment, and you
Mm-hmm.
only see it as something that you can perform for someone else, or for some kind of like literal biological baby making machine,
Yeah,
which
when
we love
really,
babies and we love our moms and we love all that shit, but like we need to have more awareness.
yeah, it can be used for a great deal of transformation.
Oh,
It can topple the negative patriarchal systems just having that energy doesn't mean that you have to use it with a partner or partners, but just having it within you, that it dismantles, these toxic systems.
We have to start, we keep, and when I say we, like, I'm in we. So I don't say you. We have to be aware that as we're pointing fingers of the problematic societal issues we're having, that we need to see the mirror's reflection and say, how can I dismantle that within myself first? And that we always talk about that with racism. We talk with any kind of homophobia, xenophobia, any of that stuff. We have to dismantle it within ourselves first. And probably the patriarchy is going to be the hardest stronghold, because people don't even know how much of a hold they had, has on them. If you talk to a boomer mom, they like will, you can't even have these conversations, because they're just like, what do you mean we have the right to vote? I feel like we have all the whatever. And it's like, oh gosh, it takes depth. Of conversation. Actually, my mom's real, for the record, she real woke, and I'm real happy I can have these conversations with her.
Yeah, there's definitely some in that generation that fought really, really hard for us to have the rights that we did have before they were taken away recently. But yes, there's a percentage that are not. But
that are just because they're so under the spell.
Yeah, and I feel like it's actually going to be much easier to tear down the patriarchy than we think.
Ooh,
because I feel like we're all going against our natural instincts.
Yeah.
And once we stop just going against our natural instincts, then it's just going to fall apart.
Like, stop doing
Men are going against their natural instincts, women are going against their natural instincts, non-binary people, they're going against.
They're probably leading the way, actually, so good for them. Like,
yeah, exactly. Because they're less likely to assign a gender role for each action. That's just like, it's just me. This is what I want to do.
I really love that. Yeah. I identify, I'm she, her, identify as a woman, but I really can see how, like, that is such progress, and how progressive that is, to be able to kind of break those like you said, those assigned behaviors, right? So,
yeah,
a team for people just breaking whatever the fuck this toxic hold the patriarchy has on us right now.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is, why I'm working on writing a book about all of this, because it's like,
Tell us about this book.
It's, reclaiming our natural, instincts. And that could differ from person to person, depending on if they feel more feminine or if they feel more masculine, But the feminine is a leader, and and if we were just naturally subservient, I mean, I know that this is being said all over the internet, and I love it. If we were naturally subservient, we wouldn't have to keep being told and being into subservience if we were naturally that way. And if men were natural leaders, then we wouldn't have to keep harassing them to make decisions and take responsibility. Like, as a whole, like, and it really comes down to, like, what are the tendencies of an individual person.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we're in such an exciting, interesting time right now. I believe our souls signed up for this. I know that sounds so woo, but, like, if you are listening to this podcast, I absolutely believe that your soul came here and is supposed to be part of whatever this revolutionary experience that we're walking through right now, which truly is the toppling of toxic systems and the rising up of, like, some kind of feminine rising, not based on I think, something that we really need to challenge is the feminine from the feminine perspective, not to try to please the masculine,
right, because it should be the reverse.
Right, yeah. And so, yeah, we really went all over, and that was my bad, because I get so excited and I can't guide a conversation when I want to talk about all the things. But I do want to do a little teasy tease, because you and I have been having offline conversations around this, and I just feel so passionate about being here and now in this time, 2025 going into 2026, and creating community and doing the work around dark feminine rising. It's why, I'm really trying to step into the esoeroticism as my modality, leading the way. It's why I'm so passionate about our virtual group, because I think around the world there's not enough just in-person groups. I can't even find one here. There's not enough in-person groups where we can connect and be like, you know what? Yeah, I want to have a conversation about, I want to be feminine and I don't want to be fucking soft life trad wife. Like,
Mhm.
I want to have these difficult conversations. And maybe in our group, someone will say, well, that's what I want. Well, perfect.
Mhm.
And that is you doing you authentically. But I feel really, and I want that I want people to live authentically, but I have not found personally spaces where I can say I'm fucking feminine and I'm fucking angry and I want to freaking be a change maker in the world, and I want to live passionately, and I want to live
Mhm.
creatively, and I want to live turned on, and I want others around me to be living turned on and lit up as well. Um and so we've been talking about what we're doing in the multiverse next year, and how there is going to be more of a focus on this, like the dark feminine magic, and whether it's sexual creativity, esoerotic essence. And we've been talking about how you're going to guide a 3-month series. Is there anything you
Yes.
can kind of tease us with that? And it's going to start in January if you're listening. So,
It is going to show people how to create that bridge between doing the esoerotic movement and then what are the ways that you can bring that energy into the other parts of your life. So it's sometimes we can be like when we're doing the movements, we're engaging into that, we're like, yes, yes, I'm in the moment, this is going really great. And then it's like, okay, how do I take all of this and then use it literally in other areas of life? It's like we can kind of conceptualize it, but there are a lot of energy practices that we can do to move those.
and that's why in our rebrand, it's esoerotic dark feminine magic and esoerotic magic. And I did a lot of thinking on it, of how it's not just, it's esoeroticism. Esoeroticism is movement plus magic. And I want to create a world that is obviously the esoerotic movement and the magical way that it is embodied, right? But
Mm-hmm.
there also needs to be the support tools around it. And that's where I see the multiverse, whether it is through astrological insight, whether it is through energy practices, shadow work and shadow prompts, esoteric, other esoteric techniques and wisdoms.
Mm-hmm.
But I see this as like, in 2026, we're bringing the dark feminine magic, that it is expected that you are cultivating your esoteric energy. And now what are you doing with it?
Yes, like
And
how are you.
how do you magically wield it?
With intention, yes. Because doing all the wonderful esoerotic movement, it does like create that energy flow in the body. And sure, as soon as you walk out the door, you still got all of that flowing, and people are going to respond to you in a more positive way. But then there's additional things that we can do to like specifically use that energy. So I'm taking that embodied self, and then I'm going to be showing people as an energy artist like how to move that into, seduction, move it into just dealing with people in the workplace, or things like that. We're going to be talking a lot about the seductive aspects, but not in necessarily like, oh, you're trying to have sex with other people, but just like how we can make that energy seductive, like in an empowering way, not in a like coy, like, oh, you know, or oh, you want to have sex with me, but just like bring it into this like state of power, that
Yes.
like grounded erotic power.
Yeah. Yeah. I love it. I'm so looking forward to this. And so we're starting this in January. Follow us. You'll learn more. Samara, is definitely a next level witch, has been doing this for decades and decades. And, you know, I don't think there's many spaces out there who are really who are combining the embodiment like we talked about. Like, you have to fucking do the embodiment practices to cultivate the energy first. But then how do you use your magic to very intentionally wield that energy that you've cultivated? And yeah, so
Exactly.
obviously we haven't, it's not posted yet or anything, but it will be probably within a few weeks. We're going to start talking about it more, so stay tuned. Samara, I want to open the floor before we get into our final questions, because I've gotten really excited and talked my talk, and I want to make sure you got to talk your talk.
One thing that I wanted to bring up that I think is very interesting, because I've been, I do, past life hypnosis. I've been doing that for years. I've explored a number of different past lives, but I've been working on one in particular recently. And it's been almost overwhelming, like the difference in how I was treated as a woman in that lifetime, like about 2,000 years ago, versus now. Because, not surprisingly, I was a priestess, because most of my past lives have been.
Talking.
But in the temple that we worked at, we were very well educated. And so in the society that I was in, if you were educated and, rational and intelligent, then that's how you got your respect. It wasn't just automatically, all men were respected and women weren't. So we were treated in a way that I've never been treated in this lifetime. Like, just with that level of respect as a priestess who is like making decisions. We were, doing our own accounts. We were, organizing things for the community. Just all these different levels of respect that you would never see here unless you were born into a male body. So it was quite shocking, because, the history books try to tell us that even back then, women were treated as second-class citizens. In various aspects of the society, they definitely were. But within the temple spaces, they were not. We were not treated like that. We were treated as leaders.
Really?
And we were educated to be leaders. We were educated to make good decisions. And then when you made a decision, everyone else respected it, which is never the case here. If you were born into a female body, your decisions are automatically not respected. Everyone is constantly asking, are you sure? Did you think of this? Did you do that? Are you sure that's what you want to do? I'm not sure that's a good idea. Everyone is always nitpicking. We do it to each other. Society does it to us. So I would have to say that was the most shocking aspect of doing that past life regression over several sessions, is that when we made a decision, we were trained how to do it. We were educated on how to make good decisions. But then once we were old enough, which was young teens, like 15 years old, then your decisions were respected. People didn't question them. It was amazing.
Wow. Oh, yes. Bringing back the days of the priestess and the honoring of the feminine. And, we always say just because we're pro one thing doesn't mean we're anti everything else. Just because we're pro dark feminine rising doesn't mean we're anti anything that's not dark feminine, that we're anti masculine, we're anti made, any of that stuff. No, we're just trying to give voice to something that's been silenced for too long.
Right, exactly. So I feel like it's important for us to get into a new state where we're trained, where we're educated on how to make good decisions for any gender, and then we start respecting that. Because there's a lot of people, of course, who have no idea how to make good decisions because they've never been trained. It's just how most of us are raised. So yeah, in that lifetime, it was all on like your level of education, and that's how you gained respect. That's how you became a leader, is you were trained how to do it. You're educated. It didn't have anything to do with gender.
Wow. Yeah. Or, the divisiveness now is also the haves and the have-nots, right? Like the money versus
Mm-hmm.
the not money. And we just assume that people who have money are just the best decision makers, which I feel like we've learned this year is not the case.
Exactly. They are not. A lot of times somebody else is making their decisions for them, and
Yeah.
they are like the face. But then
Yeah.
they have a lot of people doing all of the work for them that are not being acknowledged.
Yeah. Yeah. Ah.
And they're making poor decisions because it's not based on what is good for the world, what's good for the community, what's good for the country. It's based on selfishness.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, people become billionaires not because they're really generous with others. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
Mm-hmm.
and too many people, I think, for some reason sympathize with billionaires because they don't realize like how truly inequitable that is and how highly unlikely they will never even come close to that. Yet they think like, oh, well, they just worked hard or they were really smart or that no, they were just probably a white man because all the billionaires pretty much are, and they, were in the right place at the right time. And anyone who's super successful is a fool if they don't admit that and that they just were born at the right time, in the right body, in the right city, whatever. But for some reason, we put them on golden altars, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Where it's like, I think that recognizing that they're all humans have inherent worthiness, whether they are a migrant or, a CEO or whatever. And I do think
Yeah.
that that is like a feminine perspective to have.
Right, exactly. And so to like bring that all back, it's like that's part of our dark feminine is starting to make good decisions, become more educated on how to make good decisions, but then also trusting our decisions and then trusting the decisions of others. So I think that's part of how we're going to reclaim all that. So it's
Mm,
like, are you trusting your sexual energy? Are you trusting your intellectual development? Are you trusting your instincts? Just to
ooh,
tie all of that together. Because then it allows us to become adults rather than being infantilized.
I'm so
That's
over
part
it.
of the process. And it wasn't until I was like going through that past life and I could like see it and feel it and hear it. And I'm like, oh my God, this is like way deeper than I thought. It wasn't until I saw something new,
Yeah.
completely opposite. Then I saw how deep that the patriarchy goes within us, that we don't even trust our own decisions.
Yeah. Oh, so much to think about. I cannot wait to. I mean, we already have these conversations in our groups anyway, but I'm glad that we're putting, a title to it and
Hmm.
that we're going to have some more really specific offerings around it. So thank you for bringing that to us. And it is something that we will be talking more about. And I would love to kind of slither into the final questions that we ask everyone at this point before we go off on another topic. And I got way too excited. But I just first want to say, honestly, how grateful I am that our paths crossed. I don't even know how. Oh, I remember how we met during the pandemic. Yeah,
Yeah, it was through a mutual friend.
yeah,
Yeah. I'm
yeah.
so glad that we met too.
Because I just am so grateful that you're a part of our community and that I get to learn from you and that you get to like um teach uh, what I believe is not dominantly out there right now or not easily accessible out there, and that I hope our community understands how privileged they are to be able to learn from you. So, yeah.
Oh, thank you. I'm
Yeah.
so glad to be a part of the community as well.
So with that being said, Samara, what is your daily mantra or source of inspiration?
I would definitely say one of my favorite things that my higher self has ever said to me was that there is more to you than you know, so let it emerge. So I like to think about that all the time.
Oh, I love that. Ah, so good. And then what is your favorite sensuous indulgence?
Definitely a luxurious bath time with like all the candles and the incense and the essential oils and the magic oils and just doing the whole thing. Just
And
making it
what's your sign? You are a
Virgo, Scorpio, Scorpio.
I was like, you're Scorpio, but you're not main Scorpio.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wait, what's your sun sign? Sun
Virgo.
Virgo. Yeah, but I was like,
And then
you
I
are like
have Venus and Libra. So I like the ambiance.
I love it. Yeah, good bath ritual. I never really
Mm-hmm.
understood that until I just got a clawfoot tub, and I'm like, in my dream
Yeah.
bathroom, and I'm like, oh, I get it. So I make sure I have one of those weekly. So
Uh-huh. Yeah, and I
yeah.
have like the nice beverages, the whole everything.
Oh yeah,
Mm-hmm.
absolutely. And then, what does it mean to you to live fully in your dark feminine magic?
I feel like it is a power. It's like a power that can't easily be ignored. And it's a power that has the ability to transform our society and our world.
Transformation.
Yeah, it's very transformative. I feel like it could topple systems, it can rebuild a new way of thinking, a new way of living, and I feel like it can really heal a lot.
Well,
And
let me
it
ask.
definitely adds fierceness to us.
Yes. Our theme of the month in November is in our grimoire study in the multiverse is Pluto. The Pluto's probably the most dark feminine planet, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. And of course with all that Scorpio in my chart, I definitely resonate with it. Because I'm not scared to go deep.
Yeah.
I'm not scared of, death and rebirth. I mean, I just went through it 6 months ago, literally, physically, almost died. So, like,
Yeah.
I
Oh my
can
god.
feel it.
Yes, we haven't even shared that story. So,
Mm-hmm.
gosh, do you think that's symbolic? Feel free to share whatever you want based on that.
Yeah, it has been an incredible experience. Because it was so unexpected and it was such a rare thing. It's such a rare condition that can come up. There was like nothing that could be. They have no idea what causes it. For anyone listening, I had like a tear, a spontaneous tear in one of my arteries. And so when that happens, it like fills up the tissue with blood from the tear, and then it blocks the artery from the blood that's supposed to be flowing, and then it gives you a heart attack and you almost die. And they have no idea what causes it. It's like a freak thing. So yes, I've had to go through a massive like rebirth cycle just with because it's just taken forever to heal because it takes like 6 months or more to heal. And we're just now at 6 months. Tomorrow will be 6 months, but
Oh my god.
so it has like put me in the position of really rethinking things. I mean, I do that anyways with all the Scorpio in my chart,
Mm.
but it's maybe go deeper, because I couldn't do that much with my physical body and I was, maybe not as embodied, because of, the issue. So I was spending a lot of time out in the astral, but it was very helpful because then I could bring those energies back to the body to help with the healing process. And so I just kept going to deeper and deeper levels of, consciousness in order to bring in more healing energy. And some of the stuff I excavated was amazing. And then it also kind of adds to this, reduction of fear about like expressing myself, so now, I mean, because we all have like a certain level of fear because we are social creatures, it's like hardwired into our DNA to not want to upset society too much for fear of being ostracized and then you have no resources and then you can't live. um but it's definitely helped to overcome that because now I'm at the point where it's like I just want to express myself more than I even have been. So we're gonna, there's a lot of this like eroticism, a lot of this sexuality and sensuality and stuff that I've been holding on to that I've just been making all these notes and all these little notebooks everywhere. And now I'm gonna start to really bring that out more.
Look out, world. Oh, Samara, I love you so much. Thank
Love
you
you
for
too.
having this conversation. Thank you for following the wild thread. Didn't really know where this conversation was going, but I
It was
loved
fun.
every moment of it.
It was super fun. I enjoyed it very much.
Well, thank you so much. Thank you for everyone who listened and watched. I'll put all Samara's contact information in the show notes. And stay in your magic. We'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for joining. Follow me on Instagram at crimson.minx and visit soerotic.com to learn to live more fully and unapologetically in your magnetic power, sensual pleasure, and unlimited creative potential.